Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to all our viewers. You're once again most welcome to yet another series in the series. First, I would like to thank Humanist TV Africa for always hosting us, and also thank our producer, Dennis Bongle, and all the other Humanist TV Africa centers, and also our hosts at all who are not able to be with us, and also to you all, our viewers, followers, loyal members. I would like to welcome you all to yet our other episode. But first, I want to apologize for the last weekend. We are unable to be with you, and for today coming in a little late, circumstances beyond our control. Having said that, I would like to say that we have been looking at digital finance. We have gone through a number of issues, its importance, its benefit, its ability to scale up innovation, to bring inclusivity, but also we have addressed its demerit, issues of fraud, issues to do with abuse of data, privacy, and many other issues of having legal frameworks that are not implemented, and little effectiveness of policy and regulatory frameworks, and even lack of transparency. So we have gone through a number of things, showed you examples of existing policy, legal, and regulatory and institutional frameworks, where they are effective, what tools they have that are effective, gone through the role of the data bearers, the regulators, the service providers as in private sector, civil society, and consumers, consumer organizations. Maximizing the voice. I trust we ended up maximizing the consumer voice and how best to enshrine it, ground it in all initiatives to make sure that everything rolls well. So that said, and using the experiences that we have from consent and being on the ground, there are a number of aspects that we need to talk about to see to it that deepening the financial sector, looking at the digital finance channel, is very key. And this is why today, given the complaints that we are receiving, we said that no, let's look at issues of trust and confidence. And we are asking ourselves, can the eroding consumer trust and confidence impede financial sector deepening? Can you trust, you who is listening to me, if you're not happy with the financial sector service, would you recommend them to the neighbor? Would you recommend them to your organization? Would you go and open up a savings account for your child? Would you be in position to recommend any financial services to another person if you don't trust them, if you don't have confidence in them? So today, that's why we are asking ourselves, can eroding consumer trust and confidence impede, can it affect the deepening of the financial sector services, the growth of the sector? So those are questions that we want to interrogate today. And I'm basing them, I might not give you the statistics, but I'm basing them on the number of consumer complaints that are arising about, or that are arising with regards to various aspects of digital services, or in general, the financial sector services. So colleagues, wherever you are, in one way or another, I will ask, have you ever experienced any financial service or financial sector services, poor quality service, which ends up being unsafe, unfair? Have you ever been dis and misinformed, defrauded? Did you remain the same? Did you lose trust and confidence? You lodged a complaint and it wasn't addressed? These are issues we would like to interrogate today. We are not raising them to decampaign the financial services sector. We are raising them to encourage you to speak up, to speak out, to raise the voice and say that I am offering my resources. I haven't kept them in my bedroom, under the mattress, or any other informal way. I have brought them to the financial institution, physically or digitally. That is the service provided to me as a customer, requisite or worth my time I'm spending driving, walking, using public transport to go to the financial institution, or while accessing it from my mobile gadgets. If a transaction is not going through and I don't get the requisite services, does my trust and confidence increase or decrease? These are issues we would like to interrogate today. And I would once again like to welcome you back to yet another episode. So like I said earlier, we are looking at the eroding trust, consumer trust and confidence, impede the financial sector deepening. I would say yes, it can, colleagues. Once you lose trust and confidence in something, we can relate it to many things, but I can relate it to a relationship. If you're a grown-up, you're a couple, or you have a girlfriend, or you have partners in business, or you have partners in any form. You're in a cooperative, you're in a savings club, you're in an investments club, and you do something, and it impacts on your fellow members, your partner, and they lose trust and confidence in you, it will be very hard for you to regain it. So this is what we wish to talk about today. As I've already said, as consumers, we are the biggest socioeconomic grouping on which businesses thrive of goods and services. Unfortunately, we are hardly heard when we speak out. But if we were to hold back our resources, a number of financial institutions will be affected. So today, our deliberation on all these issues is to empower you, to inform you, to urge you, to advocate to you, to call you to action, that where you keep your resources, your hard-earned money, your savings, they should listen to you. Because when you speak up, you'll be improving service delivery. You'll be improving if you speak up and that institution responds. You'll be improving its performance, its deliverance of service, its effectiveness, efficiency. You'll save enough time to go and do other productive things. So this is how we want to rally ourselves as consumers, as businesses, to speak out to those businesses that are offering financial services to us, to inform them that we are the foundation of existence. Without us as customers, as consumers, the existence is unsustainable. You can't be resilient without the market. So, ladies and gentlemen, having said that, the eroding trust and confidence originates from not observing consumer rights. If I would hinge it on consumer, the right to safety. If an institution that is supposed to safeguard your resources, to safeguard your data as a resource, to provide you correct information, to advise you on financial investments and expenditure, ends up not doing that, offers you a disservice. It abuses your right to safety. It abuses your right to information. It abuses your right to choose because you chose that particular company or entity, knowing that you made the right choice. But when you get in there, due to misinformation and disinformation, misleading, you opted for it thinking that whatever information was put there was right. And it ends up not to be. So, right to information is abused. You're right. Once it is abused, you're right, and you're not redressed. Your right to redress is also abused. Your right to representation, if you engage a representative and it's not listened to, your right to representation is abused. If you were not educated on the products that you are going in for, there is this quick money, lodge on this app, you'll get this money, and you have not been led through the terms and reference. As I was saying, that if you are not adequately educated, led through the key information, the key issues, and you just sign here, sign there, press yes, let's say it is an app, and you go in after signing in, that's when you get to know the terms and reference that you borrowed a small amount of money, you're paying back 4 times more. Then that means your right to education has been abused. Your other right of a healthy environment as a consumer in the digital or in the financial sector, you have to have a health environment that is fair, that is safe, that is of quality. So once the environment is in a kind of defrauding you, then that is no longer a good and healthy environment to transact in financial services. So your right to a healthy environment to live in and operate in is abused. Even your basic right or basic need of health, food, shelter, education can be abused if the financial services that you are access to pay for those basic needs is fraudulent. Just imagine medical bills. You're paying for them and you get that you are defrauded. Just imagine mortgaging a house. All those basic needs of health care, sanitation, health, shelter, clothing, you pick up your card to pay and all is taken away. So that right will have been abused. So this is the basis from which we want to start our discussion. If a financial sector service provider abuses your right in elements of misinforming you, abusing your data, getting you defrauding you, hacking into your account, the scammers take your money and you report to the bank, I didn't withdraw this, and the money is taken away, you lose trust and confidence. So having given you that background, I want us to use your consumer responsibilities that once all that happens, you need to be, or as you're choosing the services, you need to be critical aware, seek information, dig deep, look beyond what you are seeing on the paper, what you're seeing in the app on your smartphone. Quick money, easy loan. Think beyond the easy loan. Is this app registered with the respective regulators? Is this bank or is this microfinance institution registered? Is this money lending entity registered? Is this advert telling me that there are no encumbrances, you can get a loan in 20 minutes? What are the interest rates? What are the payback rates? If I go into the app and I pay, or I get the loan and I pay back, and the next day I'm told that you didn't finish up your loan, and they start harassing whoever is in my phone book. So as you do the choosing, you need to be critically aware so that your safety is guaranteed. The quality, the information that you're provided is guaranteed. So as a consumer, when you're critically aware, you need to take action. In case you see something wrong, do not only inform your neighbors, your colleagues not to fall prey or victim. You need also to inform the authorities. That's how consumers who speak up get redress. So you too, you need to speak up so that we have a healthy ecosystem and a healthy financial sector environment in which to operate. The deepening of the financial sector will ease and also help out the growth of the economy, the growth of, in case you don't have resources, but you are sure that you are going to pay them up so that you don't get indebted. That benefits you. The cost of that financial facility goes down. If the financial sector is well deepened, it is inclusive, it brings in more people to utilize it. But it must be of quality, it must be safe, must be fair, it must be transparent. So having told you all that and showing you why there is eroding trust and confidence given the complaints that we are receiving, consumers say, but irrespective of being affected, but we don't have an alternative. That's why we keep him there. If we had an alternative, we would have gone to that alternative. But the other alternative is more risky. If I keep cash and people get to know that I have got my money cash, I'm more insecure. But even when some of the monies, we take them to the formalized financial institutions, we get hurt, we get defrauded. So this is why we need to join hands and speak out for quality, safe, fair financial services. And in particular, like the case of Doreen, she had to speak up until her resources were refunded. So this is very key. As consumers, do not sit back, take action, be critical, and let's speak up in solidarity. Having said all that, we need to look at some of the factors that lead to the consumer trust and confidence being eroded. Because once these are not looked into, you might be a victim and you are lacking the knowledge. So there are a number of things that lead to the eroding of consumer trust and confidence. These are many aspects. First, it starts mainly with misleading you, giving you false claims, false information, attracting you into something. So this is where I was saying, be critical, question, because with misinformation, you'll get poor service. If somebody gives you poor quality, don't expect to get quality service. Like we always say, garbage in, garbage out. So the misinformation, disinformation, misleading adverts, claims, these have eroded consumer trust. And this is where the regulators, the companies need to be transparent to provide clear information, conduct themselves in ethical and good business practices. The other aspects, once we share our data with the companies, our data needs to be protected. Our data needs to be safeguarded, not to be shared. That's why, like in Uganda, we have got the Personal Data Protection Office and many other laws that concern cybersecurity. All these are there to safeguard us. But once they are abused, consumer trust and confidence goes down. Once they are not implemented, consumer trust and confidence goes down. The increasing scams, if they go unaddressed, all that confidence in the financial sector and its services. Thus, its deepening is impeded. Of poor quality products, having deficiencies, all these affect issues to do with unfair charges, unfair fees, Sorry about the technical glitch. Like I was saying, colleagues, that once we are critical and we seek transparency, the poor quality service and inefficiencies lead us to losing trust. Then issues to do with unfair pricing, the hidden costs, where all these were not transparent from the beginning. All this leads to the mistrust, and it impedes the deepening of the financial sector services. It impedes inclusivity. All the benefits that are there are lost. Like we saw, all the benefits, like say for digital finance, are lost if there are numerous charges that are not told to the consumers at the beginning. All this leads to the erodement of trust and confidence in services provided and in the sector in general. The other aspect, it also looks at the failure to implement the regulatory framework. If consumers complain and continuously cry out to the service provider as the business and no response, then consumers run to the regulator or the competent authority that is in charge of that sector. And they say, can we use the consumer protection regulations? I have lost this, I have lost that. And the law takes long to get consumer redress. The consumer rights, the consumer protection principles, elements are not followed. Consumers is tossed up and down, come back the other day, come back tomorrow. We're still investigating. If it is a business, let's look at micro, small, medium enterprises. The little monies that they have, they are also lost. So consumers and small businesses are impacted when the regulatory framework doesn't respond to their needs. They don't, once they are seeking redress, the redress is not there. The redress mechanism is clear, but its implementation is not effective. All of that erodes the trust and confidence in the financial sector services. Thus, its deepening is impacted negatively. Even if consumers do not have an alternative, but still they can remain on the network unsatisfied, grumbling, complaining. So its growth remains, it can get started. If you are listening to our food safety and nutrition programs, once you get bad food, you get malnourished, you get food poisoning, you don't get the correct nutrients, you get stunted. The same applies to the financial sector services or financial sector players. Once you give poor quality products, you do not give healthy relationship, customer care. Consumers have got the bad experience. Consumers are not getting response when they complain or raise their concerns. Then the sector will get malnourished and it will get stunted. Well, as it has got the biggest potential to drive growth and development of both consumers, businesses, and national economies. So, building the trust and confidence of consumers is a linchpin in deepening the financial sector to growth and seeing the digital finance growing to benefit consumers. So having said all that, looking at the causes, looking at factors, and many other consequences come in, Because when you look at the different consequences when they come in, we will appreciate that these will never leave the company the same. They will never leave the sector the same. Somebody who would have used the word of mouth to promote the good service, they will use the negative word of mouth. Like you saw Doreen went online saying, but you bank facility, do you want me to die? Because they failed to respond just in time when she raised her complaint. All the investigations went on and on and on. So that's how she had to go right to the social media to speak out, because that was the only alternative she had. So the negative mouth, the word to mouth of consumer to consumer, and further, those could be the consequences, or those are the consequences of failure to sustain trust and confidence of consumers. There are many other aspects that will lead to customers reducing. You'll find that sales and revenue of the financial services will go down. This will damage the brands. You've seen in your respective countries, one consumer says the bank is good or the financial facility is good, then 10 come out to say it is bad. This is how I was affected. This is how I was affected. So all these need to be looked into so that the trust, the damage of the brand is not there. You see, it can look to be small, but the consequences are high. Whoever might like to come and invest in the country will think twice. I've read in the social media, consumers are complaining about this. That's why I always tell you, consumer protection is a very key element in economic growth and development. Satisfied consumers give a good brand. So we should look at those consequences of not building consumer trust and confidence. So there is a need, and there will be more call for accountability, calling on regulators why they are not taking action. So to avert all those, we need to make sure that we build consumer trust. Like I always say, way back in 2009 in Uganda, before the digital finances in mobile money came in, we had around about 5 million formal accounts, both for corporates, individual consumers, savings, and so forth. But once mobile money came in, the inclusivity, access increased. To date, we can boast of about 38 million consumers who have got mobile phones. They have got SIM cards. They can receive, they can send, they can transact. That brought in financial inclusion. But we need the trust and confidence in the financial sector, in the financial system, the digital finance system of 38 million plus consumers. That is a big variable in the economy. But if they sneeze due to lack of trust and confidence, the sector can catch a cold. So this is very key to sustain customer care, consumer protection, looking at how best to build consumer confidence and trust. So the eroding consumer trust and confidence has bigger consequences towards the financial sector and all its services, all its players. The consumers too are players in the financial sector. The businesses are players in the financial sector. But if they are dissatisfied, they have distrust, less confidence, it has great impact on the growth of the sector. So all of that said, colleagues, this is why I urge you to speak up, to prioritize issues in your consumer organizations, in your business organizations, you as individual consumers and as individual businesses, the duty bearers as policy makers, the regulators as referees and promoters of sectors, both of the banking, licensed banks, those that are in microfinance and savings, and money lenders. It will be very key, and you are the biggest beneficiary, like consumers will be also beneficiaries, getting quality, safe, and fair financial services, and in particular the digital ones that have increased inclusivity, deepening of the sector, and bringing more people, consumers on board, more businesses on board. It will be very key to rebuild consumer confidence, to spur consumer confidence, listening to consumer voices, listening to small business voices, because the small businesses are the biggest employers, whether formally or informally. The micro, small, medium enterprises are the biggest employers. When you aggregate the 1, 2, 3 to 4 people they employ on a daily basis, you'll find that they employ the biggest part of the population. So their satisfaction, their access to finance, their productivity provides economic growth, which is sustainable. The consumers, once they join in, then this will fuel and will deepen the financial sector and also increase its inclusivity, increase the liquidity of the resources, and increasing also other planning for the growth. So to rebuild the wandering trust and confidence, we need to prioritize trust, confidence, honesty. Tell the consumers how much are they borrowing at, how are they supposed to pay it back. Let's do away with disinformation, misinformation, misleading adverts, claims. We need to improve on how we secure, protect the consumer data. Its security is very key, because many consumers are losing money when their data is exposed to other people. But also to consumers, you need to protect your data, your PIN numbers, your information. Don't just expose it to everybody to make yourself vulnerable. It's very key to protect, as government is protecting, like the case of Uganda, the Personal Data Protection Office has put together guidelines, regulations to make sure that that data is protected. And if you see that your data is not protected, it's abused, you need to report. And once they do act, then that will confidence and trust. Aspects to first open communication. I was talking of looking at how we are transparent, when, like I'm talking about consumer complaints, consumers come out to complain because they complain to the companies providing the service and they don't get feedback. At times, there are no channels of regulatory authorities to speak to. Majority of our consumers, or majority of us, the consumers, we are not digitally literate to be able to go online or to access the toll-free numbers. So this is where, to build the confidence, we need to have effective communication channels that are open to feedback. This is where regulators need to go out and speak to the consumers. Like I told you some time back, we were with the Uganda Communications Commission. We were doing town halls where we were getting consumer voices and we were presenting them in the town halls. And there were other regulators. The telecom companies were there, the mobile money companies were there to speak to the complaints, to answer, to address the issues of consumers in those localities where, like we were in Chiboga, we were in Tororo, we were in Kochido, Kitgum. They raised issues. These issues were in communication. They were in digital finance or the financial sector. Issues were poor networks, the lack of transparency, defrauding, scams. All these issues, thank you very much, Dennis. All these issues, we brought them out, the communication and digital services issues. And the consumers were happy when they got response, and some of them got results there and then. So these elements of seeking views, opening channels of communication so that consumers have got feedback are very key. Ensuring fair pricing, clear terms of reference. These small font agreements need to be scrapped and give clear agreements to consumers. I recall when we were developing, I was part of the developing the financial consumer protection guidelines in Bank of Uganda, where they were saying there should be a standard agreement, a standard which is simple, clear, not 100 pages, not all 50, in small font that can't be read. Even the size of font was prescribed. It was stated, font 10. So these are very key to be transparent. There's a need to develop products that are fair to consumers, products that are there to also improve consumer welfare, rather than impeding consumer welfare, leading to over-indebtedness. So these are required aspects that will need to build the trust of consumers. The regulatory frameworks, investing in making sure quality infrastructure, quality implementation of the various laws and regulations to promote business and to protect consumers. So these are going to be very key if we are all going to benefit from the principles, let's say, of fair digital finance. Digital finance has come in, it is part and parcel of every aspect of humanity. Whether one has a phone or not, has got some impact with regards to digital finance or financial services. So they need to be very key. Further, to promote and rebuild the consumer trust, there is a need for accountability, increased review, constant feedback, checking out the regulators, empowering consumers, the private sector coming in to speak out and making sure that the capacities of the consumers are built, the capacities of consumers are advised respectively to make informed, correct choices. And when consumers complain, they are not tossed back and forth. Rather, they are made to have to feel at home so that they are happy about the services. So that said, it is very key in all these aspects to make sure that as we're rebuilding the confidence, let's say we are business and we are regulators, we the consumers have lost trust and confidence, or it is being eroded, it's reducing. It will be very key to continuously do consumer surveys to get to know, pick up consumer complaints, analyze the feedback, putting in place desks that respond to consumer issues, to address policy procedures, to address aspects of quality customer care, customer satisfaction, taking on standards that guide you through. It will be very key to train the employees on customer care. It will be very key to utilize services of other aspects, looking out at data that has been collected on consumer satisfaction, reaching out to the communities. These are going to be very key aspects. But as the private sector and civil society and others are doing that, there are major aspects that government, as we draw to a conclusion, there are major aspects. Most of the times, people will talk about the enabling environment, and government talks about providing an enabling environment. So it is a liberalized economy. The private sector will do whatever it has to do. I would say to the duty bearers as in government, with enabling environment, that enabling environment has to have safety nets. Safety nets that will guide and protect the market. And who is the market? It's us, the consumers. So as the aspects of gaining trust and confidence was to reach out to the consumers, making the laws effective, protecting their data, that is at the service provider level. All those will lead to the deepening of the financial sector and its services, its uptake, consumers enjoying those services, and also them having a responsible culture that when we borrow money, we have to return it, and holding on a responsible culture. When I am affected, I have to speak up and out so that whoever is offering a service improves, because we, the consumers, we are not getting services for free. We pay for them. So as you are paying for service, you need to speak up if the service is not good. So that's said to the service providers, government, the duty bearer. The role of an enabling environment provided as by government and the regulatory entities, agencies, there are lots of actions that we need to do. We need to adhere to transparency, protection, data, and its enforcement of all these regulatory aspects with regards to consumer protection regulations in the financial sector at whatever level or which tier. Because if there is protection, there is enforcement. Enforcement is not there to impede, it's there to facilitate fair competition, to facilitate quality delivery of service. And whoever thinks regulation is there to impede, then that is a wrong mindset. So strengthening the data protection laws and their enforcement, the consumer protection regulations implementation is going to be very key. Coordination. Now you'll find that there are many services, but you'll find that the consumers do not know that at this level, this one is the regulator, and at this level, this one is a regulator. So if I use the Ugandan case, it is very key for the multiple agencies that have got a link with financial sector services to work together to make sure that the quality infrastructure, quality culture, quality services are provided to the consumers. This requires coordination. The central bank, the microfinance regulatory agencies, the communication sector, the data protection, the ICT authority, all these need to come together and discuss to address consumer issues. Because when the consumers complain, they will complain about the poor network or poor signal. As I was transacting, the network went on. It is not the central bank that is providing the network. It is not the microfinance regulator that is providing the network. It is not the UCC or the Communications Commission that is providing it, but the Communication Commission licenses the telecom provider. So as we complain this side, then the issue falls onto the other regulator and onto the other regulator. So all these regulators need to come together and start addressing the consumer issues in order for their trust and confidence not to erode. So coordination, collaboration, partnerships are going to be very key. Restricting and making sure that misleading advertisement, disinformation, misinformation is cracked down. These apps that are not known where they are, who defraud consumers, who go and infringe on other people's privacy to say that, Chimera, you borrowed money, but they will go to my son and then say, your father borrowed money and you are the guarantor, you have to pay. Or they go to my friend who didn't know that I borrowed and I didn't make them pay. So all these providers of services who are using the borrowers to infringe on the borrower's friends and relatives, these need to be cracked on so that the consumers have got confidence and trust in the sector. Transparency, ethical practices need to be enshrined. Increasing efficient consumer protection desks where consumers can access and lodge their complaint. I have lodged my complaint to the service provider, but the service provider has taken 2 weeks over the time that is in the regulations. Now I'm in 1 month, I'm being tossed up and down. Then the regulator of the sector needs to take action to build the trust and the confidence of the consumer in the sector. But if the stipulated time of lodging a complaint with the service provider elapses, and then I can't have a regulator to help me up, address, and get redress, I'll lose trust and confidence. So all these are very key. The other elements that are very key that the executive, the regulators need to put in place is sustained consumer awareness, financial literacy. awareness campaigns. We need to do through partnerships, government, private sector, consumer organizations, civil society organizations, to do financial literacy, digital literacy, scale up campaigns of awareness. Once all these are scaled up, the enabling environment will really enable the sectors to grow, to deepen. This will rejuvenate the trust and confidence of consumers. So all players have a role to play, but the major role of all this, having policy in place, regulations in place, and investing in them to be implemented, to be responsive, to use them to get the private sector, the service providers, to offer quality to consumers, to continuously train, to nurture a quality culture for consumer satisfaction and confidence. That will spur savings. Those that are not accessing, are not inclusive, those that are not banked, those are not either on mobile wallets or in any form of the formal financial system, will come on board because there will be a positive word of mouth from a satisfied consumer who will tell, no, let's go to this company, let's go to this network, go in for this loan. Their loans are clear, they're transparent, they have no hidden costs. All those transparent, clear consumer protection elements will lead to better business and would lead to the deepening of the financial sector services, scaling up trust, inclusivity, and consumers enjoying the ecosystem of financial services or sector, and in particular, the digital finance services. That is now the order of the day. Many people are enjoying it, but many people or many consumers are complaining. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thought that today I would lead you through that journey of not allowing consumer trust and confidence to erode the beauty, the benefits that are in the financial sector services like digital finance. As consumers, we have a lot to benefit. As service providers, there's a lot to benefit. And as a country, we have a lot to benefit, because there will be more innovations as the sector grows. There will be more businesses opened up, whether at cottage as a micro, small, medium enterprise, who are big employers. So all these, cost of digital will go down, everything, but it must be of quality and it must be giving consumers trust and confidence. I would like to conclude for thanking you for tuning in, and I would like to thank Humanist TV Africa, my producer, Bongole Dennis, my usual host who's absent at all, and also Brian. I would like to thank you all, and thank you very much for our listeners. Keep tuning in, share the voice, share the campaign, and let's advocate together for quality service, quality life. Thank you. Spark Weekend.